You tell people you want your life to change, but you haven't changed one behavior. Not one. You still check the problem first thing in the morning. You still narrate the timeline. How long it's been, how hard you've tried, and how many times it's almost happened. You've memorized the story of why it hasn't worked yet. You can tell it in your sleep. There's a story in John where Jesus walked into a crowd of sick, blind, and paralyzed people and stopped at one man. 38 years, same pool, same condition, same weight. And Jesus asked him something that should not have been necessary. Do you want to get well? That question sounds absurd. Of course he wants to get well. He's been there for 38 years. Except, watch what the man actually says back. He doesn't say yes. He doesn't give Jesus a reason why it hasn't worked yet. He explains the system. He explains the obstacle. He describes the people who keep getting there before him. He answers a yes or no question with a diagnosis of his circumstances. That's not a man who's ready to be healed. That's a man who has become his condition. Jesus wasn't measuring how long he'd been sick. He was measuring what the man's operative assumption was about himself. And the assumption wasn't, I'm healed. The assumption was, I'm the man who can't get there in time. Here's the mechanism. After long enough, the suffering stops being the problem, and it becomes the identity. You don't just have the condition, you are the condition. It's how you introduce yourself inside your own head. It's the lens every new opportunity gets filtered through. It's the reason you give before anyone even asks. 38 years doesn't happen by accident. 38 years is a chosen state, not consciously, but chosen. Because it became the only self that felt real. Whether you call it faith or assumption, the mechanism is identical. What you inhabit as true about yourself is what God works through, not around, through. Creation is finished. The healed version of you already exists in the finished work. Your assumption is the channel it enters your experience through. That's the architecture the entire story is built on. You don't have a faith problem. You have a double assumption problem. You're not waiting on God, the universe. God is waiting on your assumption. This might irritate you, but some people are more attached to their suffering than their healing because suffering is familiar and peace feels dangerous. Not because you are broken, but because somewhere along the way, it started to feel like if you stopped worrying, you stopped caring. Like peace meant you weren't taking it seriously. Like rest was the same as giving up. It's not weakness, it's protection. The sick identity knows what to expect. It knows its own limits. The healed identity is unknown territory. And the nervous system will choose a known pain over an unknown freedom almost every single time. The disciples had the same problem at a different scale. They weren't lacking God's power. We all have God's power. They were assuming the problem was louder than the promise. Their operative state was the obstacle, not the absence of God. That's what Jesus kept exposing. Not lack of effort, not lack of prayer, louder assumption of the wrong thing. Jesus was God in a body with no resistance, not no difficulty, no resistance, full inhabitation of the finished work. Every miracle came through a complete assumed state. No split, no double assumption, no I believe, but let me just check the water one more time. No, he was the demonstration of what happens when you live in the end. Some of you have been here for years, and you are not failing because God is withholding. You are failing because you have assumed the story of your condition more completely than you have assumed the story of your wholeness. Your state determines what you perceive, how you behave, and what reality reflects back to you. Those are the mechanics. That's how the law of assumption works. And that's what Jesus was doing when he picked the man out of the crowd. He saw a man whose assumption had calcified into identity, and he gave him one command. that required him to act from the new state before it was visible, before there was evidence. Get up, pick up your mat, walk. Not wait until you feel it. Rise from the assumed state first. And what happened? The body followed the belief, not the other way around. Here's what it costs you. It doesn't just cost you peace, it costs you presence. While you are narrating the reasons why it hasn't worked, you are absent from the state that would let it work. Present in your problem, absent from your promise, every single day. Are you trusting God, the universe, or just briefing Him? Because if every prayer is really just an update on the problem, you are praying from the position of the man who can't get into the water in time. And God works through that assumption too. That's the part nobody says out loud. Your assumption is your prayer, and it always has been. So stop explaining why it hasn't happened yet to yourself, to other people, to God. The explanation is the assumption, and the assumption is the prayer. You need to start inhabiting the end of the story the way Jesus modeled it. Present tense, already done. Rise from the state before the body confirms it. Before you have evidence, take action. The embodiment is embody as someone who prayed once, assumed it's handled, and moves like it's true, like it's already done. Not because they're ignoring reality, but because they understand which reality is the finished one. If this hit, subscribe. I drop episodes every Monday and Thursday. If this doesn't land, discard it. Your sovereignty is law. The version of you that already has it isn't manifesting harder. They just stopped assuming the wrong thing. Take what served you, leave what didn't, and if this woke something up inside you, don't let it go back to sleep. And remember, this wizard believes in you.